I'm sorry that I'm not cute for you today, that I'm not doing my main camera. Just sometimes mommy needs to be ugly. Sometimes baby doesn't get pretty mommy. Sometimes mommy's ugly. Mommy needs to be ugly. Please don't call me mommy. Welcome back to Memory Lane, the series where I take a look at the past and read horrible, disgusting things. And today we have the McNugget fic. Oh, what is that? Marilyn Monroe fan wrote this? Alright. 2 men, 40 nuggets, lowercase intended. I'd like to thank Alicia and Jared for giving me the idea of writing this. So this is a fan fiction, which normally I wouldn't read about real people, except maybe I would. I can't promise that. In this case, I feel fine because they literally put fan fiction of them into their book, so who really cares, right? Let's get into it, shall we? Author's note. I am so sorry I published this, lol. McDonald's, the place with the best nuggets. McNuggets. They're crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. Who doesn't love that? Nobody. I'm loving it, said anyone and everyone who has eaten a McNugget. In fact, everybody loves them. Maybe a little too much. One day, in some place in the world, 2 grown men walked into the most exquisite restaurant in the country, McDonald's. The only thing they ordered was some McNuggets, 40 to be exact. First of all, who doesn't get fries when you go to McDonald's? What? Did they get any sauces? A lot to think about. They asked for it to go as they had some important business to attend to in their apartment. What might this important business be, you may ask? Eating the McNuggets, of course. What else would it be? They're fucking ordering McNuggets. Nothing more important than that. According to Dan, anyway. Phil, on the other hand, had something up his sleeve. As they were walking back, Phil couldn't stop thinking about later that day. What? Later that day? Accidents happen, he thought, right? Would they believe him is the actual question. Excuse me? Dan decided to break the silence by saying, great McWeather we have today. Phil rolled his eyes. Yes, but did you have to say that pun? It was McNecessary, Dan shrugged. I will take that bag away from you, Phil pointed to the McDonald's bag Dan was holding. Dan frowned. They finally reached their apartment building, and the first thing Phil does is trip over the steps leading to the apartment. Good thing Dan caught him before his face met the floor. Phil tried to play it cool. I've McFallen for you. Didn't appreciate the double pun as he replied with, get the McFuck out. Once they both got in their apartment, Phil said, I'd rather McFuck you. Dan was taken back by that retort. Suddenly, Phil's lips were on Dan's. Dan dropped the McBag. You thought I was McKidding? Dan quietly said, you made me drop the McNuggets. Phil then asked, do you care more about the McNuggets than my... I feel like a school teacher, a little school teacher who's embarrassed by everything her students say. I don't know, like a teacher who can't laugh when their students make like cum jokes or whatever. You just kind of have to sit there and you're embarrassed a little, but also you want to laugh. That's how I feel. Dan loved it when Phil was annoyed. He decided to lead him on, which was a plus for Phil. Yes, I do care about the McNuggets more. Why don't you McFuck the damn McNuggets instead? Dan picked up the McBag from the floor and sat on the couch. He asked Phil, do you want some McNuggets? Phil rolled his eyes and sat next to Dan. Dan started eating the McNuggets. He got into them real quick. Dan moaned with every bite. Phil, his McPants get tighter, but he tried to keep it low-key. Phil, with a straight face, said, if you don't McStop, I'm going to make you McChoke. Dan McLaughed. Dan started to choke on the McNuggets since he couldn't stop McLaughing. I told you, said Phil. Dan kept on McChoking and couldn't stop. Phil just stared at him, not doing anything to McHelp. Then Dan stopped McChoking. Dan had died. Dan was dead. I don't believe Phil looked at a random place in the room as if looking to a camera and said, I'm loving it. Excuse me. That was a lot to absorb. So why not read one other that's even worse? This one was actually in their book, so as you will see. Phil woke up covered in sweat and screaming. He wiped his muscular brow. Whose brows are muscular? As he got out of bed, that nightmare had been something else. Weird, he said, as he did his morning routine of 300 sit-ups. Dan was already in the kitchen making a delicious breakfast of bacon pancakes with extra maple syrup. Oh hey, D-Slice. Ugh, said Phil, bag flipping into the room and high-fiving his friend midair. Dan looked horrified. What's wrong? Phil said, as a bead of sweat dripped from his forehead and bounced off the mutant finger protruding out of his body. Your body? There's something happening to you? Said Dan. Phil looked down in horror to see a human hand was starting to grow out of his chest, just below the nipple. It wasn't just growing, it was moving. In shock, Dan dropped his syrupy spatula into... Why would you have syrup on this bee cleaner? He dropped his syrupy spatula onto his leather jeans and ruined them forever. No more leather jeans for Dan. We need to call the army, he told his raven-haired friend. Dan, no, they'll experiment on me. I don't want to die, Phil said as he let out a single tear, not being afraid to show emotion in front of his best friend. They decided to keep it a secret. Over the next few weeks, the hand grew and grew. Phil continued to make YouTube videos. He just wouldn't film below the nipple. He had to keep this a secret from everyone. Dan and Phil had even taught the hand some of their best friend handshakes. It was responding to the fun. When they watched Game of Thrones, the hand even started twitching with glee. Later that month, something unexpected happened. Dan and Phil were finishing another pancake session when the hand started violently vibrating. Dan, help! Phil screamed as the hand started gesticulating wildly. I'm just imagining just jazz hands. Dan could only stand and watch as the hand started to extend out of Phil's chest. The hand was reaching for Dan. Instinctively, he started pulling it, and something happened that none of the British boys would ever expect. After a few pulls, there wasn't just a hand, there was an arm and an elbow. An entire human being was being dragged out of the inside of Phil. He was giving birth. I don't know that would be good. Birth already, destroys all of your internal organs. It's poorly mechanated, in my opinion. I think we need to come up with a better way to birth, but that's just me. Dan could only stand and watch as the hand started to extend out of Phil's chest. The hand was reaching for Dan. After a few pulls, there was a giant wet explosion. All that was left of Phil was a lump of skin, and there, standing in the kitchen, was a completely naked Harry Styles. Dan gave him a pepper pot to cover his modesty. Thanks for pulling me out of you, mate, said Harry as he grabbed a pancake from the pan and walked out the door. Dan looked at the middle distance. His face was no longer filled with confusion. It was no longer filled with horror. It was filled with revenge. To be continued. Oh, and here's the cover art. Wonderful. Phil wrote this? Well, that certainly was an experience. It's interesting to go from, what a fan would come up with versus, the subject of the work themselves. They both had plenty of twists and turns. I have to give it up to both the authors. If there's any other fanfiction you'd like me to take a look at, please comment it below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.